Venezuela's ghost ship snapped in half. No missiles, just U.S. physics. Gone in 10 seconds.
January 12th, 2026, 6:14 a.m. The Caribbean Sea. Coordinates 18 degrees north, 65 degrees west. The water here is not just blue. It is a deep, bruised indigo, churning under the trade winds. The sun has not yet broken the horizon, but the sky to the east is bleeding a pale, sickly violet. On the surface, a Leviathan moves. It is a VLCC, a very large crude carrier. To the naked eye, it is a monument to global commerce. 330 meters of painted steel. That is 3 American football fields laid end to end with room to spare. It is a floating city displacing 350,000 metric tons of water. The crew of 24 men is awake. The smell of heavy bunker fuel and salt spray hangs in the air, a metallic taste that coats the back of the throat. The ship's massive propeller, a brass screw the size of a 2-story house, churns the water at 60 revolutions per minute. Thrum, thrum, thrum. It is peaceful, it is rhythmic, it is a lie, because this ship is not carrying crude oil to a refinery in Houston. It is a Trojan horse, and in exactly 6 minutes, the peace of this morning will be shattered by the physics of absolute destruction. To understand why this ship must die, you have to look at the map. This is the precipice of the Western Hemisphere. The sea lanes here are the arteries of the American economy. Every day, millions of barrels of oil, liquid natural gas, and containerized cargo pass through these waters. If you sever this artery, the heart of the economy goes into cardiac arrest. The ship, flagged out of Venezuela, but financed by a labyrinth of shell companies in East Asia, represents the ultimate asymmetry. It is a weaponization of logistics. For 70 years, the U.S. Navy built a doctrine based on fighting gray warships. They looked for radar signatures. They looked for carrier battle groups. They did not look for a rust-streaked oil tanker. This vessel is a mobile A2AD node. Anti-access. Denial. It is designed to park itself in international waters and turn the entire Caribbean basin into a no-fly zone. It is a capital ship without the flag, without the honor, and crucially, without the vulnerability of a traditional destroyer. The stakes are binary. If this ship launches its payload, the balance of power in the region evaporates. American cities, specifically Miami and New Orleans, fall within the arc of its fire. The decision has been made in a windowless room in the Pentagon. The rules of engagement have shifted. Positive identification is confirmed. The order is not to disable. The order is to delete. Let's look closer at the deck of this tanker. Amidst the complex web of piping and valves, there sit 4 standard shipping containers. 40-foot steel boxes painted a dull, innocuous blue. They look like they should hold electronics or textiles or auto parts. They hold death. This is the Club K container missile system. It is the embodiment of hidden lethality. Inside each container is a universal launch module. Right now, the missiles are sleeping, lying horizontal. But when the encrypted signal arrives via satellite, a hydraulic sequence begins that chills the blood of any naval strategist. The roof of the container does not just open, it splits. Powerful hydraulic rams push the launch tubes upward. It takes roughly 2 to 5 minutes. One moment, it is freight. The next, it is a battery of 3 M54 caliber anti-ship missiles. These are not dumb rockets. They are the Sizzler variant. 8.2 meters of aerospace rage. They carry a 450-kilogram high-explosive warhead. But the real terror is the guidance. These missiles possess an active radar homing seeker, the ARGS-54. Once launched, they drop to 10 meters above the waves, skimming the sea at Mach 0.8. They are sea skimmers. By the time a ship's radar sees them over the horizon, the crew has less than 40 seconds to make peace with their gods. The tanker carries 4 containers. That is 16 missiles, a saturation strike capable of overwhelming the defenses of an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer. And right now, inside the container, the gyroscopes are spinning up. The Joule Thomson cryocoolers flood the seekers with pressurized nitrogen, bringing the sensors down to 77 Kelvin. The weapon is waking up. 50,000 feet above, circling in the thin, freezing air, is the answer. The B-21 Raider. Do not think of it as a plane. Think of it as a predator made of mathematics and composite materials. It is the first 6th-generation aircraft. To the enemy radar below, The B-21 does not exist. It is a void. Its lambda wing geometry is designed to deflect radar waves away from the source, like water sliding off a duck's back. The engines are buried deep inside the fuselage. The air intakes are scalloped, flush with the skin, using serpentine S-ducts to hide. The spinning compressor blades. These blades are the biggest reflectors of radar energy on a normal jet, but here, they are invisible. The exhaust is mixed with cool air and vented through trench-like nozzles lined with heat-ablating ceramic matrix composites. It leaves no thermal signature for the enemy to track. It is a ghost, but this ghost is listening. The B-21 operates as a penetrating sensor fusion node. Its open mission systems architecture is currently fusing data from satellites and its own passive sensors. It detects the faint electromagnetic hum of the Club K system warming up. It sees the thermal bloom of the hydraulic pumps on the tanker's deck. The pilot does not touch the controls. The flight computer calculates the windage, the atmospheric density, and the target's velocity. The kill chain is compressed into milliseconds. Inside the internal weapons bay, the rotary launcher rotates. A heavy, dark shape moves into position. It is not a laser. It is not a hypersonic missile. It is a bomb. A GBU-31 JDAM, modified with a kit called Quicksink. Here is the problem with sinking a ship like a VLCC. It is designed to survive. These ships are built with a double hull. That means there is an outer skin of steel, then a 3-meter gap of void space reinforced by steel webs, and then an inner skin of steel. If you hit this ship with a standard missile, you are wasting your time. The warhead punches through the outer hull, detonates in the void, and maybe cracks the inner hull. The crude oil inside is viscous. It absorbs the energy. You might start a fire, but you will not sink the ship. It is too big. It has too much reserve buoyancy. You have to break its back. This is where the GBU-31 Quicksink changes the laws of the game. It is a 2,000-pound bomb. Inside, it holds 945 pounds of tritonal high explosive. Tritonal is 80% TNT and 20% aluminum powder. The aluminum is key. It extends the blast pulse. It creates a massive heaving push rather than a sharp crack. The Quicksink does not aim for the deck. The Seeker, a hybrid of imaging infrared and radio frequency sensors, looks for the waterline. It calculates a specific point in the ocean, 5 meters away from the side of the ship, directly amidships. The bomb falls. It hits the water at Mach 0.8. The steel casing survives the massive deceleration, the water slap, thanks to a delayed electronic fuse, the FMU-139D/B. It dives. 5 meters down, 10 meters down. It positions itself literally under the keel of the ship, and then it detonates. Water is incompressible. When that 900 pounds of tritonal goes off, the energy has nowhere to go. It creates a shockwave moving at 1,500 meters per second. This shockwave hits the bottom of the ship like a sledgehammer from the gods. It lifts the entire 300,000-ton vessel upward. Then comes the gas bubble. A massive sphere of superheated gas expands, displacing the water. The ship is now supported by nothing but gas. It starts to fall into the hole. But physics is cruel. The water rushes back in to fill the void. It forms a high-velocity jet of water, the Bjerknes jet, that shoots straight up, smashing into the keel from below. The ship is hogging, bending up in the middle. Then it is sagging, bending down. The high tensile steel of the hull cannot take this frequency of loading. It snaps. The keel girder fails. The spine of the ship is severed. This is not damage. This is structural execution. The B-21 Raider opens its bay doors. The math is done. The physics are waiting. The clock hits 0620. On the bridge of the tanker, a printer chirps. It is a secure telex from a SAT-link. The message is short. It is a string of hexadecimal code. The captain, a man who believes he is a patriot, turns a physical key in the console. 3 decks down, a circuit closes. On the main deck, the camouflage falls away. The hydraulic pumps of the Club K system scream to life. This is the critical moment, the transition from commerce to combat. The roof of container number 1 splits down the center. The steel groans. Massive hydraulic rams push upward. Slowly, agonizingly slowly, the 4 launch tubes begin to rise. They move from 0 degrees to 45, then 60, then 90. It takes 2 minutes. To the satellites passing overhead, The geometry of the ship has changed. It is no longer a flat rectangle. It now has vertical teeth. 50,000 feet above, the B-21 Raider sees this change instantly. Its onboard sensor fusion algorithms match the radar return to the database. The probability of hostile intent hits 100%. The pilot does not panic. There is no shouting. There is only a soft click as the master arm switch is flipped. The weapons system officer authorizes the release. The command travels through fiber optic cables to the central weapons bay. The bay doors do not just open, they snap. The airflow around the stealth bomber is disrupted for a fraction of a second. Inside the dark belly of the aircraft, the pneumatic ejectors fire. Thump. A 2,000-pound GBU-31 drops into the slipstream. Gravity takes the wheel. The bomb is falling. It is a dumb object now, guided by a smart tail kit. The GPS fins flutter, correcting the course by millimeters. It is not aiming for the ship. It is aiming for a patch of empty ocean. The descent takes 40 seconds. Down below, the first missile in the Club K container is priming. The solid rocket booster is hot. The launch cover blows off. But physics is faster than chemistry. The bomb arrives. It hits the water at 600 miles per hour. Mach 0.8. Impact. Water is 800 times denser than air. Hitting it at this speed is like hitting concrete. A normal bomb would shatter. The electronics would turn to dust. But the Quicksink is built for this violence. The steel nose cone slices the surface. A massive spray dome rises into the air. Inside the bomb, the FMU-139D/B electronic fuse wakes up. It senses the deceleration. It knows it is underwater. It starts a countdown. 15 milliseconds. The bomb dives. It travels 5 meters down, then 8 meters. It passes the turn of the bilge. It slides directly underneath the flat bottom of the supertanker. The clock hits 0. Detonation. 945 pounds of tritonal ignite in a microsecond. The explosion does not create a fireball. There is no oxygen here. Instead, it creates a shockwave. The pressure pulse moves at 1,500 meters per second. It is faster than the speed of sound in air. It strikes the steel bottom of the ship with a force of 14,500 pounds per square inch. The steel plating of the hull does not just bend, it liquefies. The machinery inside the engine room is thrown from its mountings. The sailors standing on the deck have their bones shattered by the vertical impulse. But the shockwave is just the jab. The knockout punch is the bubble. The explosion creates a massive sphere of superheated gas. It expands rapidly, pushing the water away. For a split second, the center of the ship is floating on nothing but a bubble of gas. Gravity pulls the 300,000-ton ship down into this hole. Then, the bubble collapses. The surrounding ocean rushes back in to fill the void. The water from the bottom moves faster than the water from the top. It creates a vertical jet of water, the Bjerknes jet. This jet shoots upward like a hydraulic piston from hell. It strikes the keel of the ship from below. The ship is lifted up, hogging. Then the support vanishes. The bow and the stern are heavy. They drop, sagging. The hull girder is made of high tensile steel. It is strong, but it is brittle under this kind of shock loading. Snap. The sound is louder than the explosion itself. It is the sound of the ship's spine breaking. The 300-meter vessel is physically torn in half. The midsection is pulverized. The two halves of the ship are now independent floating objects. The Club K missiles never launch. The container they are sitting in is twisted into scrap metal as the deck beneath it disintegrates. But they forgot one thing: the cargo. The ship carries 2 million barrels of light crude oil. When the keel snapped, the cargo tanks ruptured. Thousands of tons of oil are released into the water. But it doesn't just spill. The heat of the tritonal explosion is 3,000 degrees Kelvin. The oil atomizes. The mixture of oil mist and air finds the heat. Ignition. A wall of fire erupts from the ocean surface. It is not a flicker. It is a geological event, a pool fire. The flames leap 200 meters into the air, wrapping the broken halves of the ship in an orange shroud. Then comes the boil-over. Seawater floods into the burning tanks. It sinks below the oil. It hits the superheated steel at the bottom. The water flashes to steam instantly. Steam expands 1,700 times in volume. It is a steam explosion inside an oil tank. Columns of burning crude oil are ejected into the sky like volcanic magma. The fire is so intense, it creates its own weather system. The black smoke rises, blotting out the rising sun. 10 minutes later, the B-21 Raider is already 100 miles away, turning for home. The pilot does not look back, but the satellite feed tells the story. The supertanker is gone. In its place are two jagged shapes of steel, the bow and the stern, pointing vertically towards the sky in a grotesquely perfect V-shape. They bob in a sea of fire. The environmental damage is catastrophic. The oil slick will cover hundreds of square miles. The ecosystem here will not recover for a decade. But the calculation was cold. The Pentagon measured the death of a reef against the death of a city. They chose the reef. The message has been sent. It is written in black smoke across the Caribbean sky. There is no such thing as a hidden weapon. There is no such thing as a civilian shield. If you hide a missile in a merchant ship, you do not gain a warship. You simply lose a merchant ship. The silence returns to the ocean, broken only by the crackle of burning oil. The technology of the Quicksink worked. A $50,000 bomb kit destroyed a $100 million asset. It proved that in the modern age, armor is irrelevant. Mass is irrelevant. If you can be found, you can be sunk. But looking at the burning horizon, you have to ask yourself, was it worth it? The threat is neutralized. The missiles are at the bottom of the sea. But the cost is stains on the water that will last for a generation. This is the new face of naval warfare. It is not clean. It is not surgical. It is violent. It is dirty, and it is absolute. The ocean swallowed the evidence, but physics never lies. Stand by. I'll see you in the next tactical breakdown.